Have you been used to a meat and potatoes lifestyle for most of your life and now don't know how it would be possible to move to eating a plant based diet? Maybe you're wondering, how do I go from relying on meats for the mains in all my meals to having just plants? If this sounds like you, this episode is for you. Listen in as I share 3 key reasons why your fears of leaving a meat based diet lifestyle may be unfounded and how moving to plant based eating can be easier than you think. Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi friend, do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. Hi friend, I'm so glad you're here and are joining me on this episode of Plant-Based Eating Made Easy. Even if you face health challenges and have a busy schedule juggling work, family, or caring for others, I believe that plant-based eating can and should be doable and stress-free if you have the right guidance, support, and strategies. So if you need support on your health journey or are facing transition challenges and don't know how to overcome them, I invite you to reach out to me using the contact options provided in the show notes. You can also apply for a free rapid health transformation call with me using the link in the episode show notes as well. I want to support you on your journey to optimal health and wellness. Now let's dig into today's topic. Tell me, is meat currently so much a part of your meals that you don't know how you'll be able to move away from it? The idea of meatless mains sounds foreign and strange, and you worry you'll be giving your favorite foods up for bland, tasteless ones. Yet, you know that eating more plant-based may help improve your health naturally, without more meds or surgery. That's why you're now considering trying this out. If this sounds like you, you're in the right place. I want to show you today how moving towards plant-based eating may not be as big a leap as you originally thought, or as boring or bland as you believe. First, if you're concerned and worried about going meatless, I want you to know that I get it. It's natural to wonder how you're going to move away from a meat-heavy diet, especially if you've been used to decades of eating steaks, fried chicken, potatoes, fries, and very limited veggies on the standard American diet, and may have depended on highly processed foods as a junk food junkie. So changing to eating a different way can seem naturally impossible. Now, although red meats like steaks were never a huge part of my meals growing up, our family meals did always contain either fish, flank steak, chicken, or pork in the main dishes, and the meatless dishes on the table were usually only vegetable side dishes. Even when we went out, dishes with some kind of animal-based protein were always ordered. So given this background growing up, I naturally assumed that meats were a necessary and normal part of a quote-unquote balanced meal. So it was hard to imagine it being any other way, especially since I hardly ate any kind of vegan or fully plant-based main entrees growing up. That's why if you're wondering, what do I replace the meat with, and fear you'll end up just eating platefuls of tasteless veggies, I want you to know that I understand how you're feeling. I get this fear, and there are others who feel the same way too. In fact, I think no one expressed this concern better than a member in my community who recently started exploring this potential lifestyle change. He said, "I've been very worried that I wouldn't like vegan, let alone plant-based. I had this impression of plant-based eating in my head, of a thin piece of cardboard sprinkled with sawdust for seasoning." Now, isn't that a vivid picture? If you're feeling the same way and are expecting to be restricted to boring salads and bland, unsatisfying meals if you move to plant-based eating, I want to speak to this fear today and give you 3 reasons why I feel moving to plant-based eating might be easier than you think. Here's the first. The plant-based world is wide and vast. If you're not used to eating much plant-based foods, it's easy to think a plant-based diet will be limited or boring and filled with only fruits and vegetables. But actually, when you take the time to step into and try plant-based eating, you'll find a whole new vast world opening up, one that was previously unexplored and unknown. Besides fruits and vegetables, other major categories of a whole food plant-based diet are whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, sea vegetables, and fungi. Within each of these categories, there are also numerous varieties to try. Here are some examples for you. The legumes category includes beans, peanuts, lentils, chickpeas, soybeans, and split peas. And just within the bean subcategory, there are hundreds of different varieties grown commercially around the world today. There are also over 300 kinds of edible mushrooms with 30 kinds domesticated and over 1,000 vegetable species. And we haven't even talked about the other categories like fruits, nuts, and seeds. I hope you'll see this way of eating not restrictive, but opening up a whole new world that you would otherwise not have explored. It's like playing in a rain puddle and then looking up and realizing that there's a whole vast sandy beach and ocean that waits. The world of plant-based eating is just like that, a huge ocean waiting to be explored. The second reason why plant-based eating may be easier than you think. It can be tasty and flavorful. There are actually quite a number of cultures and cuisines around the world today where plant-based foods are featured exclusively or predominantly in meals. These include Ethiopian cuisine, Jamaican, Italian food, and a good portion of Indian cuisine is plant-based as well. There are also populations that have fully enjoyed plant-based diets and lived long lives as a result. A good example would be the Blue Zones, which are 5 areas of the world with the highest percentage of centenarians. That means people who consistently live over 100 years old. One of their commonalities is a predominantly plant-based diet, where plants make up 95% or more of the daily calories. Legumes, starchy tubers, and whole grains are major components of their meals. So part of the reason why plant-based eating will never be boring or bland is because over these centuries, many different cuisines have developed flavorful ways of cooking and seasoning plant-based foods. This results in truly tasty, flavorful dishes that feature different spices and unique seasonings. One of the best ways to experience this would be to go to ethnic restaurants and taste some of their vegan dishes. You almost have to try it to believe it. So if you know how to season and cook whole plant-based foods with the right spices and how to combine plant-based ingredients together into a meal, you'll be able to easily create delicious plant-based dishes. This is what I teach in my online Plant-Powered Life Transformation course, which is designed to help one master the basics of plant-based eating with practical skills, strategies, essential knowledge, and easy, tasty, whole food plant-based recipes. Now, the third point I want to highlight today is this. Know that substitutes are available. One common worry I hear from those considering plant-based eating is this. What about the foods I love or have been eating regularly? Foods like pizza, ice cream, coffee, sugary processed foods, and fried foods. Will I need to give these all up forever if I switch to a plant-based diet? Here's the answer. You can have your coffee, and for all the other foods, there are definitely alternatives and substitutes available. But I'm not talking about the commercial meat alternatives and other highly processed commercial vegan food products that you can now find readily in most supermarkets. I'm talking about using real substitutes. While these may serve as temporary alternatives to help you in your transition, the real substitutes I'm talking about is using whole plant-based foods to recreate a healthier version of those foods and dishes you love. For example, it could be a plant-based version of a mac and cheese without using dairy, a filling meatless vegan lasagna, which is one of our family's favorites, creamy soups without needing cream or milk, black bean brownies, and vegan pizzas loaded with a variety of tasty, colorful toppings. Again, this is where the world of whole plant-based eating and cooking will open up to delight and excite you. You'll discover ways you can easily make healthier versions of the old favorites you enjoyed, and if you have the right recipes, these can be simple to make. So it's not about giving up the foods you love forever, like never having pizza again. It's about finding a much healthier, delicious version to enjoy, and knowing that you're nourishing your body and health in the process of eating it. So if you're worried about giving up foods you love, I want you to know that you can have your cake and eat it, as long as you're smart about what you choose to replace it with and pick a healthier, whole food, plant-based version. I know, it's natural to be hesitant to make a change because you don't know what's on the other side. A past client of mine described this very well. He said, it was like peering over the fence from the familiar, comfortable safety of living a regular meat-based diet lifestyle and feeling intimidated by the strange new world of plant-based eating on the other side, being fearful and worried about going over that fence. But once you do go over it, you'll be surprised and will see that plant-based eating can really be enjoyable, delicious, and health transforming. I hope you see from this episode today that plant-based eating does not have to be limiting. Yes, it will be different, but different can also be good, and it won't be as restrictive as you think. There are so many ways of cooking to explore, different cuisines to sample, and varied options to try for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, desserts, frozen treats, baked treats, and more. Don't worry, we'll talk more about this on future episodes. So as you explore plant-based eating, I invite you to come with a willingness to widen your horizons and to learn, try, and explore. You won't be disappointed. Now, I want you to remember this. Moving to plant-based eating doesn't need to be difficult or hard. It can be doable and enjoyable. For further help and support, check out the links to available free resources and learning opportunities in the show notes of this episode. Use the contact options provided in the show notes to connect with me with either a question you'll like answered on this podcast or to explore how we can work together to help you reach your desired weight and health goals. I want to support you so you can transition with clarity and confidence to a plant-powered lifestyle for true health and wellness. Thank you for listening to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. If this podcast has helped you, please rate and leave a written review on the Apple Podcast app or iTunes to let me know. Nothing will lift me up more than to read your review and see how this podcast has made a difference in your life. I also pick reviews to read on this show, so your review could be one of them. Come connect with me in my free Facebook community group, Beginners for Plant-Based Diet Success. Just go to bit.ly/PB Diet Success. That's bit.ly/PB Diet Success. You can also subscribe and follow this podcast to get notified when a new episode goes live. Signing off now, this is Anna, and I wish you the best health always.